Welcome to Module 4. This module centers on evaluating coverage of reported births in the 12 months before a census. It has 3 episodes. This introductory episode is on methods for assessment of completeness of fertility data from censuses, a second episode describing the standard PF ratio method, and a third episode describing the PF ratio for synthetic cohort method. In addition to the 3 episodes, we have included 2 annexes which are supplementary material for those of you who want to understand the PF ratio method and the synthetic PF ratio method more deeply. These are available from the course website for download. Let's start with introductory episode 1. The goal of this first episode is to briefly show you the 2 methods for evaluating coverage of birth records from a census. These 2 methods are the standard PF ratio, also called the BRAS-PF ratio, and the PF ratio for synthetic cohorts. In episodes 2 and 3 of this module, we will cover these 2 methods in detail. These are the topics that I'll cover during this session. First, I'll review the concepts of data completeness and reasonableness, and discuss the potential problems of birth recording reported by households in a census, and why we need to evaluate for census completeness of birth recordings. Second, I will briefly introduce the standard and synthetic cohort PF ratio methods for evaluating completeness of birth recordings. Third, I compare these methods according to their assumptions and data requirements, and at the end of the session, you will find a learning assessment. We defined data completeness in Module 3 as the degree to which the members of a population, household deaths and births are reported in a census. Data reasonableness in the case of birth recordings evaluation refers to how close is the distribution of reported births by age of mother to the expected number of births according to reported parity, or the number of children ever born by age of mother. Remember, evaluation is always needed. We cannot assume that census data is 100% complete without conducting an evaluation, or that all data is reported accurately. We need to assess birth records because measures of maternal mortality should reflect the risk of maternal death per birth and overall levels of fertility. There are 3 biases that might lead to underreporting of live births in the 12 months previous to a census. First, omitting some children from the total number of children ever born. Women over age 35 might be more likely to underreport the number of children ever born. Second, recording childless women as having no response. This error leads to overestimating births. If childless women are recording as having no response, the responses get imputed when it should be 0. Third, inaccurate date of birth of last child born alive. Remember that we derive from this census question the number of births in the 12 months previous to the census. These biases affect the accuracy of maternal mortality measures. There is a fourth one that we are going to mention. Missing the first delivery for women who had 2 deliveries during the past 12 months. The number of women with 2 deliveries in the 12-month period is small and not significant for the accuracy of estimations of birth coverage in census data. For evaluating data on births, you should also compare results from the census data you are using with estimations using data from the demographic and health surveys or demographic and health surveillance systems. These estimations should be available in the country reports. I am assuming that you already checked for age misreporting as indicated in episode 1 of module 3 and for missing data. If possible, you should check the proportion of cases with imputed data. This will give you a general idea of the quality of the data. You should also check for improbable parity by age of the mother. If average parity seems too high, childless women might have been recorded as having non-response instead of no births. If this is the case, you should apply the El-Badri method available in the U.S. Census Bureau Toolkit. Improbable parity by age of the mother is more about very young women having lots of children. For example, 15 to 19-year-olds having 5 kids, which is biologically very unlikely. By the end of this module, you should be able to answer these two questions. What is the coverage of birth recording? And can the recorded numbers of births be adjusted for data deficiencies while reflecting the population's true fertility conditions? Let's start with the definitions of two core concepts in the evaluation and adjustment of fertility. These two core concepts are parity and lifetime fertility equivalence. Parity refers to the total number of children previously born alive, or the total number of children ever born to a woman. Lifetime fertility equivalent refers to the number of children who will have been born by women experiencing observed fertility rates from the beginning of childbearing at age 15 to age 49. The central idea behind the parity and fertility ratios method is that it compares the age trajectories of average parity and lifetime fertility equivalent. Average parity is considered a more robust measure for women younger than 35 years of age because it is not subject to recall bias. It is estimated from the question on the number of children ever born alive. Lifetime fertility equivalents are estimates from the question on the number of births in the 12 or 24 months previous to the census date. This measure is subject to recall bias. These age trajectories of fertility measures are similar if there are no errors of coverage of birth records. In case there is a difference between average parity and lifetime fertility equivalents, then you can estimate and apply an adjustment factor to correct for undercoverage of birth recordings and obtain unbiased measures of maternal and pregnancy-related mortality. Let's summarize. Data on children ever born and births during the year previous to the census are used to estimate parity and lifetime fertility equivalent measures. These are then used in the parity and fertility ratio method to evaluate completeness of birth records from census and calculate an adjustment factor. There are two ways of applying these general methods: PF ratio, a standard method for a single census, and PF ratio for synthetic cohorts using data from two censuses. In the next two episodes, we will cover these two methods. Please answer true or false to the following two statements. First statement, parity is the total number of children previously born alive to a woman. Second statement, the PF ratio methods compare the age trajectories of three different measures of fertility. Here are the answers for the previous questions. First statement, parity is the total number of children previously born alive to a woman. It is true. Second statement, PF ratio methods compare the age trajectories of three different measures of fertility. It is false. The methods compare two age trajectories of different measures of fertility: average parity and lifetime fertility equivalents.